Okay, here we are. I've been asked a lot of times how I put my logos on my blades. Well, I use electrochemical etching. Here we are all set up. I've got the blade masked off to keep the electrochemical solution from getting over onto the blade. And here's what I use. I use regular old salt water, mix up a couple teaspoons of salt in with the water, and that's my solution. I use a homemade probe. It's a brass probe that I built myself. I use a old battery charger for the power source. Now you hook the negative side up to the probe and the positive side gets clamped onto the blade because electricity travels from negative to positive. Okay, now we take the probe and a piece of something that will absorb the liquid. And you put on a rubber band to keep it in place. Okay, now your probe is set up. The logo I use is a reusable logo. The description of where I get them will be in the comments. Want to make sure you put it on the right direction. I put it on the left side of the blade so that when you pick the blade up, you see my logo when you're holding it in your hand. Now I tape that on using electrical tape. Be sure to not get any swells in it. Logo secured. Now you get your probe and you soak your probe in the water. Now that's a saline solution, like I said earlier. And you want it to be absorbing the water all the way down to where it makes contact with the metal. Usually just squish it a few times and then get another soaking. That should be sufficient. You can see the moisture is all the way through. So now you put it on there. Now I hold it on there for 3 to 4 second intervals. And I do that 10 times. The reason I go between is in order to allow the blade to not heat up to the maximum. Oh, well, it would help if I had it turned on. Now I put it on there for 3 to 4 second intervals to prevent the blade from heating up too much where you're etching. And I do it 10 times, give or take, for the depth. I find that 10 times gives me sufficient depth. Sometimes I go a little longer because I forget how many times I put it down. Okay, now we take a piece of paper towel and we dab off all the little excess salt water or saline solution, and you start to remove the piece to check to see if it's etched deep enough. It looks like it's got a good etching on it. Okay, next step is to clean it up. Once you get the process all done and you've got it unmasked, you got to neutralize the acid. I use Windex. The acid is created through the electrolysis process. All you do is just clean it up a little bit and wipe it off. Now it's ready for the next step. Here we are all set up to clean up the marks from the electrochemical etching process. Leaves little acid marks on it from where it was etched. We're going to clean them off. I'm going to use a Scotch-Brite belt on my trusty old shop box grinder. Still a little shadow left. Cool it off a little bit. We'll do the sledge. And it's ready for acid.